I'm Deanna Oakes, your host, and we have with us today Paul Unger. He is one of the founders of Affinity Consulting and a public speaker. And we're so happy to have you here, Paul. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Thank you, Deanna. Glad to be here.
We are so happy because you are going to be one of our presenters at StarCon 24 in San Diego this year. And we're hoping maybe you could give our members a little teaser of what you're going to be talking about while you're there.
Absolutely. Be glad to.
First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What is your main, work day? I know that you were an attorney. I don't think you practice anymore. So what exactly do you think? Would you just call it public speaking?
I'm an owner and founding partner of Affinity Consulting Group, which we provide consulting and practice management consulting and technology consulting to law firms and legal departments all over the U.S. What I do is national speaking, teaching, and consulting, these days mostly around time management and productivity. But I also do quite a few practice management evaluations where I go into firms or other legal related organizations and take a look at what they're doing, what technology they're using, and talk strategic consulting.
Okay, and what led you there? I mean, you were an attorney, so were you finding yourself wasting time, or how did you end up going this direction?
Well, I always loved technology as a kid. In fact, my first computer, some of you are way too young to know this, but the Commodore 64 was my very first computer when I was 12. And I loved computers, and I always wanted to be a lawyer, so it's kind of this neat intersection between technology and the practice of law. I enjoyed practicing law, but my partner, Baron Henley, and I decided back in the late 90s, there was nobody providing technology consulting for lawyers, and lawyers really needed help. It's like, well, how do we set up a time billing and accounting system? How do we set up document management? How do we navigate this new technology that is before us, and how do we use it in our practice? So we decided to start Affinity back in the late 90s under a different name, but we've kind of morphed into different names. So,
Okay.
and I still practice. I do our general counsel work for Affinity.
You were telling me earlier, too, that you have written a book, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the irony there is I'd been working on my book for years on time management. So finding the time to write the book on time management was very challenging when you're trotting all over the United States talking. And so then COVID hit, and it was a perfect opportunity to stay home, do virtual webinars, and finish my book. So yes, I finished my book, Tame the Digital Chaos. It's all about distraction, time, task, and email management.
That's awesome. I know, personally speaking, I have absolutely said it before. I feel like time management is the hardest part of being an adult. Now, I don't have children, so I will definitely say that I don't have that barometer, I guess, to judge against. But time management is so challenging for me, and I imagine that you find that is the most common with a lot of people, right?
It is with me as well. So it's therapy for myself, and so it's a constant reminder of the things that I teach. But I do take pride that I do practice what I preach.
So what are some of those things? I mean, I know you're going to talk to us a little bit about, or a lot of it about it in San Diego, so I don't want to give away all of the details, but do you have any little tidbits of something that you might be able to help some of us out who struggle all the time with this?
Yeah, sure. So, the biggest sins that we have as folks providing professional services, because that's really what I focus on. I don't focus on time management for folks who sell widgets or sell products. So it's really centered around anybody who provides professional services. So lawyers, court reporters, accountants, realtors. My focus is on legal, though. But our cardinal sins are multitasking. So it's, we try to be these multitasking superheroes. So that's a huge problem that most people suffer from. Email management, and just, I'll say, communication management generally, because today we get email, but we also get other communication through other platforms like Slack, Jabber, mostly Microsoft Teams in the legal world. So managing communication, failure to planning, not knowing how to plan, and
Yeah.
so really starting the day every day, being part of somebody else's plan. So most people sit down at their computer, they skim their calendar, and then they jump to email. And when you do that, you're working on other people's priorities, not your own. So so how to plan, how to beat procrastination. These are all the things that we're gonna talk about.
Wow, it is fascinating. I feel like I should be taking notes right now because these are things like, should I be talking to my therapist about this? What's happening? There's
Well,
so
I feel like I talked to my therapist about it, so it's something that's, it goes beyond just time management.
Yeah, which is fascinating. I mean, I don't think I realized how complex, that it was. But I'm very excited to hear you speak more about it and give us some tools and tips and tricks. And we actually scored big time because you are going to talk to us about more than just time management. You're also going to talk to us about some of the scary stuff that's out there with the whole cybersecurity. And I mean, it's just gotten so complex, right? Like there's
It
just a
has.
massive, I mean, with AI and everything, how do you even begin to tackle something like that?
Well, it's my other passion, and it's
Okay.
it's you know what has happened over the last really the 10 last I'll say 10 15 years is there just have been it's just the insanity of like ransomware attacks and cyber attacks. We get over 2,000 attacks per day in just the U.S. alone. That's every roughly 30 to 40 seconds,
Wow.
and and folks in the legal profession are targets. We're always in the top 10 list because we have information about mergers and acquisitions. We have information about intellectual property. We have stuff that's subject to a non-disclosure agreement. I mean, there are tons of things that, I mean, the very nature of lawyers' practice is to keep client information confidential. And so
Right.
if a hacker can get a hold of that, then they know that that is worth money. That if that is released, that is going to harm
Yeah.
that legal professional. And of course, that requirement under the model rules for us lawyers is 1.6. We're obligated to supervise, and that extends to non-lawyer assistants. So independent contractors like court reporters or any contractor that we bring in, for instance, for a trial consulting, for presentation consulting, for really, it could even be a reprographic shop that comes in and helps reproduce or blow up exhibits or something like that. So we all have to be aware of the the protocols that lawyers have to follow to keep that data safe. So, things like something so simple as transferring files on a flash drive, right? That could be very dangerous. Flash drives are kind of an archaic piece of technology that's easy to lose, and it's easy to infect computers. So, what I talk about in my program are the common pitfalls of everyday law office computing, the things that we do every single day that can get us in trouble.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
scary stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So there are certainly ways, of course, that it is, going to help us, but people want to hear, I think, how they can feel safe and so cybersecurity is definitely something that I think is really going to touch on the hearts and minds of people. It's very prevalent right now. So I'm very excited that you will be there and able to share some stuff with us and hopefully leave people feeling better. But I just wanted to thank you so much for being willing to speak with us and educate our members on some of these very intense topics. We're really looking forward to having you, Paul. Is there anything else? I know that you wrote that awesome book. Are you working on another one, did you say?
Second edition. Yep.
Ooh, okay,
This year,
very
this
cool.
year, this year. I have to stop procrastinating. I have to get that second edition done.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully we can hold you a little bit accountable just by
That's
knowing you
right.
put it out there in the universe. You know, people are going to be waiting for that. So thank you so much, Paul. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you, and I can't wait for your sessions in April. And hopefully we will see everybody else there as well. Thank you guys so much. You all have a wonderful day, and we will talk soon.
Thanks, Deanna.